Alright, welcome Crusaders. Today we're talking about Jedi Survivor. And this game definitely looks like it could be a Game of the Year contender. It did have a rough launch apparently on PC and even on console. Footage you're seeing here is from Xbox Series X. This is also New Game Plus, so you'll see that enemy placements and everything will be a little bit different. But with the rough launch it had, I did not experience any major issues with my first playthrough or with my New Game Plus playthrough. I might attribute that to the fact that I did not play in performance mode. When I started on performance mode, it felt a little weird. I had a little bit of choppiness in the frames, and I almost immediately switched it to quality and had no issues whatsoever. Don't know how it is after the new updates. I know there's probably even more updates to fix performance issues, but I would say that this game is you're probably fine playing it on quality. 30 frames isn't noticeable to where it hinders gameplay. The game looks great and it plays pretty well. So definitely recommend it. Like I said, I didn't have any of the issues that people were reporting on my Series X or on my Series S, so I would definitely, my review will kind of rule out the rough launch that I had because I didn't have any of those problems. Alright, so let's just jump right into it. This game I think is definitely close to a Game of the Year contender, just because it's a game that has a good story and good core mechanics behind it. Unlike other games, it doesn't suffer from the sequelitis issue that even Tears of the Kingdom suffers from, where they take all your powers from you and you have to kind of regain new powers or new abilities to figure out to get through the story. That's a trope that Nintendo uses a lot. If you look at like Metroid games, you start off with all your powers, then they get taken away from you. Then the rest of the game is you getting your powers back to go then fight the final boss. Zelda Tears of the Kingdom did this, where literally the beginning opening cinematics and what that you're playing in, you have all 30 hearts, you have the Master Sword, all that, all gets taken away from you, and then you have to spend the rest of the game playing with new abilities and getting new powers to defeat the game's main boss. In Jedi Survivor, you don't lose any of your previous powers. You still have all that stuff, but what they end up giving you is a few new things. As you go through the game, you'll get new stances, which they put 5 in here, so you not only have the single lightsaber, double blade lightsaber, and then they had a little bit of dual wielding dual lightsabers in the first game, but not to the extent that it is here. And then they also have a blaster stance and a crossbar stance, which has really like opened up the different gameplay styles that you can do with this game, and definitely opened up what you can do, as well as giving you a few new force powers as well. So not only do you have what you could have done before, you end up gaining some new abilities throughout the story in this game, as well as getting being able to use some powers straight off the get-go, like the Jedi Mind Trick. This game is definitely very focused on story. The first like 10 minutes of the game is nothing but a cinematic, and then you get into actually being able to play the game and then going through the platforming. This game has probably some of the best platforming I've seen in a Jedi or Star Wars game, and it has a very well built skill tree system that you can see that with New Game Plus you get all your skill points from the previous game, so that you can then kind of just spend them as well as you can see I'm doing here. But this game definitely is up there for your Game of the Year contender. Still has the same meditation save point stuff, and still the same like little Dark Souls light gameplay that can be enhanced later on with the different perks that you find. There is literally a combination of perks that people like to use, which are experience perks, which end up giving you the ability to get way more experience with your kills and whatnot, but if you die you lose everything, and you have no chance of getting it back. So it makes it a little bit more like Dark Souls if that's more your preferred style of play. Otherwise, I say if like the concept of losing all your experience in Dark Souls kind of turns you off, the way Jedi Survivor and Jedi Fallen Order did is that you lose all your experience up to gaining your next point. So if you already have like 1 or 2 skill points acquired and then you die, you lose everything past the second skill point that you do, everything you're working up to getting to your 3rd skill point. So you don't end up losing everything, you just lose what you're amassing currently, which definitely makes it a little bit more approachable, so you don't feel like, hey, I just lost all my progress, I can't level up or anything. But the other thing is also you don't feel completely weak and not able to play the game in the beginning either, because again, Cal has all his powers from the first game. They're all usable right away, and he still is fairly powerful without having to level up from the get-go. Whereas Dark Souls, you always start off with like a base character who may have a slow roll, quick roll, depending on how you gear them out. But your playstyle is pretty much dependent on how you're built out at the very beginning, and you're kind of stuck with that until you get to a point where you can actually start customizing your build a little bit, which takes maybe 10-15 skill points in Dark Souls to even get to the beginning of that, because of how low powered you are. Where here you still feel like a badass, but you still feel also challenged too by what gets thrown at you. And New Game Plus does a great job of mixing it up with a perk that unlocks after you beat the game, and it's automatically applied, which you can turn this off if you want to, but it's a perk that basically doesn't up the difficulty but changes the enemy placements and the enemy types for different rooms. Like here you'll see there's flamethrower troopers in this room where normally they're not. So that's what the New Game Plus is. It doesn't make you up the difficulty to a higher difficulty to play it. It just changes the enemy layouts and puts tougher enemies areas that you don't expect. So it still keeps the game pretty fresh. The other big part of this game is definitely the stuff that we've seen all from the gameplay videos everybody's been showing, which is what happens on the second planet, which is like Batu or something. Not Batu. I don't remember what it was called. But you get a hub basically, and then you have a cantina that, as you play through side stories and whatnot, not only does it make it enjoyable to explore and find all the hidden things, basically all you're finding is a lot of cosmetics, or you're finding items to buy cosmetics, or things to add to the cantina. And the cantina is surprisingly well designed and fairly big, where most games would just give you, here's the bar, and then here's the front door and the back door. This gives you kind of that semblance to begin with, where it's just the bar. There's areas you can't go to because it's run down. But as you play the game and you meet more characters and tell them to go hang out at the camp and go to the cantina, more opens up to where you now have a bar, you have an upstairs, you have a garden on the roof. There is a fish tank. There's people you can meet that can do like kind of like a hollow where you get to play a minigame where it's a hollow like chess game with all the characters that you scan. So scanning enemies actually has a big benefit, because as you beat the challengers in this game, in that mini game type, you end up getting more items or cosmetics or tokens that you can use to buy more stuff that you want to get. There's a bounty hunter that introduces a kind of a bounty hunter mini game with where you kind of go down and you start hunting down mini bosses throughout all the different locations in the game, which leads to some cool like extra cutscenes too if you complete all that. There is fish tank that later on in the game you'll meet Scuba Steve, who will talk about his fishing adventures, and he'll be able to start catching fish for your fish tank, which will then clean out the tank and make it look nice. And you'll get more and more people to show up, and they'll give you more and more things to do around the world, and even off planet, to the point where you'll find yourself just organically doing their quests as well, but not just like, it doesn't feel like an Assassin's Creed game where you're just checking stuff off the list. What feels more like, and I get examples of this, is like I was running towards a specific area. I was going to go do a main quest, and I got distracted by, hey, look, there's this little area here where there's a cave I found, and there's some guards in front of it, and then I ended up down in this cave system fighting another Rancor and a bunch of little mini bosses, and getting a bunch of extra skill points and stats and items that I would not have otherwise got unless I explored there. There was no main quest for me to go down there. There was no marker for it. It was just, hey, these guys are standing in front of this door that's locked that I can open. What's down there? And turned out to be a extensive cave system where there were then also a few other characters I could send to the cantina who unlock a few other side quests or other buildings in the town. So it's very rewarding to just go around and explore. The game does a very, very good job at that, and it's very enjoyable. Other than that, the story in this game is definitely very good. I'm not going to give you any major spoilers on it because it's worth exploring for yourself. You do have little elements of the High Republic that comes into play in this game, which makes some of those High Republic books or whatnot probably like more into canon. And we'll be excited to see more High Republic stuff with the new Acolyte TV show that Disney Plus is coming out with. So it is definitely an interesting story, and it does have twists and turns that, you know, maybe you'll see it coming, maybe you won't. I personally didn't, and it plays out great, and it has some great set pieces where it's not necessarily all set pieces and over the top like how a Call of Duty game used to be, or even like the Force Unleashed, where it was just major set piece after major set piece that you're basically doing quick time events. It doesn't feel like there's any quick time events in the sequences that play out in this game, and they all play out naturally, so it's not like one giant space like Jedi versus a spaceship battle over and over again, or versus giant walkers and stuff like that. It all makes practical sense. So definitely a lot of fun. I would recommend to get this game. The customizations, as far as even Cal goes, to the lightsabers that you get, to the different stances that you get to use, all change up the gameplay, make it a lot of fun. You'll find that some stances are better for other things. I found that the blaster stance, which is probably like a fan favorite, was one of the few that were to a point where it let me kind of cheese some fights. If you can aggro some things like a Rancor and be able to stand on a cliff where he can't get you, you can shoot him to death. Hope that might be something they may fix in the future. But like some of those fights, regardless of the difficulty settings, they're hard. A lot of these enemies can kill you in one hit. If a Rancor picks you up and bites you, you're dead. If the Ogobogo frog gets you with its tongue and puts you in its mouth, you're dead. So it's not as forgiving as the first game, but it definitely is fun. All the characters make a lot of sense, and you get that overpower feeling of being a badass Jedi as you go through it, but it's not felt that way all the time, which makes sense that it shouldn't be, because Cal, is on a journey to figure out, is Jedi Order something worth saving, or should he go his own way, type of thing. Very good, very interesting story. I like all the locations it takes you to. Was very engaging. At no point was I ever bored, and always found myself, like I said, you'll go to one area to explore, and you'll end up finding yourself doing something completely different, not realizing that you just spent 2 hours kind of off track, and you're finding a ton of rewards as you go, and it makes it way worth it. So I would definitely say this is, I can't give it a 10 out of 10 because it did definitely have performance issues for a lot of people, and I can't ignore that. This game is probably, for me, definitely a 9 out of 10. I'll take a point off for the performance issues that some people are having. Like I said, my Series X is a launch box. I didn't have any issues with it. But I also played on quality mode, and that seems to be the best mode to play this game on, versus performance mode that seemed a little bit jaggedy with the frame rate clips and whatnot. But I didn't have any of those issues here on quality mode. So definitely go check it out, see what you think. This is definitely worth the $70 price tag on it. I would definitely play this game multiple times, and I think it's up there with Game of the Year contenders, which right now are Hi-Fi Rush, Jedi Survivor, and Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom have been probably the 3 games that have come out this year that are worthy for being probably Game of the Year. for at least has come out on Xbox. I'm not quite sure what releases were on PlayStation, and I think Ragnarok came out before the new year. But otherwise, that would be another Game of the Year contender as well. All right, thanks for watching, and we'll catch you next time.